Hello everyone. In this tutorial I will show you how you can implement your own professional recoil pattern and spread handling inside your Unreal Engine 5 shooter game. I will show this based on the Unreal Engine first-person shooter template. First off, you will need to create a new project. Click the first-person shooter template and select Arena Shooter template. Then click Create and we will go on. Next, you will need to install the Weapon Precision System plugin. It is available on the Fab Store. The link is down in the description. After you have installed the plugin and opened the project, you will need to open the Content Variant Shooter Level Arena Shooter. When running the first-person shooter template, you can see that there is already spread implemented. However, it is not controllable. This means it is static and not changes based on your speed or so. In addition, you can see that there is a type of recoil pattern added to the rifle, but this recoil pattern is also very simple and just goes up and has no reset functionality. To do this professional, you will need to use the plugin. The plugin provides the ability to add learnable recoil pattern curves, which you can define by yourself, and also the ability to add spread to the weapons. This makes it possible to both create pistols and rifles, and also pump guns and so on, which just have a random spray pattern instead of a learnable recoil curve. To integrate this in the first-person shooter template, you will need to open the blueprints. Mainly, it's in the BP shooter character. This is the BP shooter character, and here we can see that under the interfaces and then get weapon target location, this function creates a line trace from your first person camera to the point you are looking at and returns it. This is used by the weapon. The weapons you can find under pickups, weapons, and then here the shooter weapon rifle. This has a base class called BP shooter weapon base, which we will edit. Inside the BP shooter weapon base, you will find this fire function. This is responsible for executing the bullet shots. There you can see the get weapon target location is called. Then this value is passed to the fire bullet. And inside this fire bullet, you will take the target location, do the calculation with a random unit vector, which is basically their approach of doing the spread. To simulate the recoil, they just add some pitch input to the camera based on how long you press down the button. The plugin is all doing this automatically. This means there's no need for this weapon recoil anymore, and inside the calculate bullet spawn transform, there's no need anymore for the random unit vector. We can just take the target location and put it inside the find look at rotation directly. So we can remove that. To set up the plugin, you just need to add two components to your actors. First, to your shooter weapon base, you will need to add the component weapon trace position. This is a C++ class exposed to blueprints for efficient usage. There you can see two settings. The first setting is the spread, and the second setting is the recoil. The spread basically defines a random angle in which the bullet trace gets manipulated. For our rifle, we will need less spread. For example, just 0.2 decrease each shot. And under recoil, this is more interesting. For rifles, this is normally done in shooters like CSGO. Here you can add entries. The X coordinate of each entry is basically the yaw. This means how one bullet changes the camera rotation to the left or to the right, while the Y coordinate says how much the camera goes up. Each entry is one bullet index. This means the first shot always goes straight to the crosshair. And after this shot, this recoil is applied, which you will paste in here. So the second shot will go to the direction which the camera shifts. After all bullet indexes are completed, like if you only have 2 index for your recoil pattern, you can define a random pitch range and a random yaw range. Sometimes you have special playground levels or game modes where you can have infinity ammo or so. And there it is helpful to not only have the recoil pattern predefined, because you can't define a recoil pattern for around 200 shots or so. Therefore, we have the random pitch and random yaw range, which defines after the recoil pattern is finished, how much angel we can randomly apply to the weapon to feel like there is still a recoil pattern, but it's not anymore learnable. This you can also see in CSGO or so. When you start firing and go on in infinity modes, the weapon isn't stopping at the top. It just moves a little bit around, but this isn't learnable anymore. The random pitch and the random yaw tries to adjust their influence by the last bullet index you have created there. This means that the recoil crown, we call it, goes around this point. You can set up the spread stream and recoil stream to have a more precise and also reproductive recoil pattern across your whole shooter. After you have set up the weapon trace precision, you will go on into your shooter character. There you will need to add the weapon view precision. There are 2 components. Inside the weapon view precision, you can override how the recoil resets. This is useful if you have perks in your game, and when the player picks up an ability, you will decrease the recoil reset time by around 50% or so. But for normal usage, you can use the PPC weapon view precision pawn component, which is a already overwritten weapon view precision pawn, which helps you to integrate the whole view precision more easily. This is known from CSGO or so, where when you stop firing, the crosshair will go back to the original position where you started firing. So we add this. Here you will find less settings, but still an important one. The view precision percentage states how much of the recoil we apply should give the user a visual feedback. This means if you set this to 0, there will just be an offset to the weapon. So like your camera still points to the original start firing point, but your recoil pattern will be visible through offsetting the weapon. While when you set this to 100%, the camera will actually follow each individual bullet. When you have something like 50%, which feels natural to CSGO, we'll see that there is an offset, but also the camera slightly follows the recoil pattern. This results in that you have the ability to control the learnable recoil curve, but also to see the feedback you get from the weapon. If you would apply the whole recoil to your camera, this would be really strange for the player to actually see the camera jumping around. So it feels more natural to not have that much visual feedback for that. After you have done that, you can compile the class. In the shooter weapon base, we can also compile the class. And now need to integrate the actual functionality of the plugin. Go back to your BP shooter character, and here we will edit the get weapon target location. There is a variable called current weapon, which we will grab and get it. So this tells what the current weapon of the player is. With this reference, we can take the weapon trace precision and call the function calculate trace direction. This function is all what you need. It takes the current forward camera direction and manipulates it, and also applies all the camera visual feedback directly to the player. This is all network replicated and easy to use. We will just need to grab the function put it before the line trace, like this. Give it the current forward vector. Then you use the return value to put it into the original forward vector, because now this returns the forward vector which is already manipulated. For the pawn, you just grab self, because we are inside the pawn class which is responsible for this weapon. Then you can compile and save. This is all what you have to do to set up the plugin. Now, if you jump into the game, we will see that there is currently no recoil or spread anymore. The bullets just go straight to the weapon crosshair, and also when hitting fire, the weapon doesn't go up. This is because we didn't change the spread or recoil pattern. We will go back into the BP shooter character and then to the BP shooter weapon base, back to the weapon trace position. For demonstration, we will increase the spread heavily to around, let's say, 10. Now you will see that there's definitely some spread to the weapon applied. As I said, this feels unnatural for weapon rifles. We will go there, clear this up, then we will go to the child blueprints like the rifle, the pistol, and also the grenade launcher. Here, if we open full blueprint editor, we will also see the weapon trace precision component. Inside the rifle, we will use the weapon trace precision and set it spread to around 0.2 again, and add some recoil pattern which we could think of. Like, for example, we want just a weapon that always goes up. So like 2, 3, 2 again, and maybe 2.5, which will put the weapon into a straight line to the top. We will also add some random pitch range and random yaw range to about 2 in the pitch and 0 in the yaw. If we now start the game again, pick a weapon and start firing, you will see that the bullets go straight up as we defined it. Inside the plugin, we can find this demo, and here is a level called Weapon Precision System Demo, which we will open now. If you install the plugin via the Fab Store, you have to search it under Engine and then Plugins. And after opening it, you will see a test level. In this test level, you can set up your own recoil patterns, efficient and also easy to see and modify. The weapon start stands for the camera, so this is where the player actually sees through. And it has a hit target. These are the individual shots. As you can see, here's a pretty decent recoil pattern for maybe an AK or so. And we will now use the weapon start, which has the functionality to load also recoil patterns, and go on into our shooter weapon again, right click and copy it. And if we now go to the level and paste it to the generated one and click load, we will see that this is the recoil pattern we just created. So this, as we saw, is not very good for a rifle. So we will start modifying it a little bit, like, for example, putting this down, the second shot, then grabbing the third one, putting it here, the third maybe here, the fifth there, and maybe also adding some, like here, and make it a bit difficult to follow it. Maybe this would be hard to learn, so maybe put the fourth here and more have a crown setup like this. And now you can see a more typical recoil pattern created. Now we will click back on the weapon start and click generate recoil pattern, which will fill the generated recoil pattern array. And we will copy it, go back to your weapon, paste it, and there you have it. Compile, save. The demo is also capable of doing the spread, like when seeing here, you have this update recoil pattern indices. Like if you increase the spread to something enormous like 3 and click this update, you will see that the bullets get really, really large. For now, we will do 0.4 to actually see the bullets updating again. And here, this would be the radius in which the bullet could land. Go back to your arena shooter, inside variant shooter again, arena shooter, open it, press play, grab a rifle, and you will see that this is our new recoil pattern we just created. However, we didn't implement the recoil reset yet. We have to go back to our shooter character. Inside the shooter character, you will find the shoot function. Here, we need to grab our component, and on start firing, we need to call stop recoil offset, and on stop firing, we need to call reset recoil offset. In addition, in the component, we need to add a recoil reset curve. This can be done under the section recoil, and here we can find a predefined recoil reset called CF recoil reset. It hasn't a track name, but you could define someone here. This is a default reset curve. As you can see, it's just a linear reset within a second. Later, you can add your own curves there for different weapons, so that each weapon have an individual recoil reset. But for now, we will keep the linear reset. Press play, pick up a weapon, start firing, and as you can see, the crosshair returns back to the start firing position. As you can see, it's really simple to create recoil patterns known from CSGO or Valorant with this plugin in Unreal Engine 5 into your own shooter projects. As I told you, it's fully network replicated. This means there's no need for additional setup. But the plugin also has more functionalities. When we go back to our demo level, I can show you them. We will press play. And as you can see, there's already a crosshair and also a full weapon setup. This is useful for actually testing your recoil patterns inside the demo level. We will open the weapon of this demo, which is the weapon position demo rifle. Open the full editor blueprint and take its recoil pattern to show you something. Paste it again inside the weapon target, paste, and click load. And now when we click play and fire, we will see that each individual target lights up and again removes the color after some seconds. This is helpful to see if your recoil pattern really feels natural. In addition, you can also try to learn it by yourself. Maybe you wondered about the different colors you can see on the ground. These are zones which represent the scale functionality of the plugin. As we talked about abilities, this is very useful if you want that, for example, with a perk, you can reduce the scale of your recoil pattern. So it's more easy to control the weapon for some seconds. So when I start and go to this zone over here, you will see that my recoil pattern suddenly gets very large. We will take a look into the zones, which shows the functionality of the scaling. Here, as you can see, this is a zone affecting the recoil. You can give it a context and also a scale. This means that you have as many contexts as you wish, like for example, aiming down sights, sprinting, or even the ability perks, and give it a scale. This scale is only responsible for this context. So this means if you have, for example, a scale of 1 for sprinting because the user isn't sprinting, and have the perk set to 0.5 because it's currently active, these two will be multiplied together by the plugin. So in the end, the user will have an effective scale of 0.5. But if the user sprints and have a scale of 1.5 and aiming down sight, which reduces it to 0.7, these will be multiplied together. This makes it easy for you to have different scales. You don't need to care about all the logical combinations which are possible in your game. You just can scale the individual contacts and the plugin will do the rest for you. Okay, so I hope I could show you how you can extend your own shooter by having a recoil system and also a spread handling. At the end, I would like to give you some hints on how to use the plugin. First off, the calculate trace direction should always be called on the server. In addition, ensure to use a player camera, like the first person camera, directly or the control rotation, because the player camera manager would not update fast enough for weapons with small bullet cooldowns. The recoil pattern would look wrong. Also, make sure to call reset recoil offset and also stop reset recoil offset always on the server. It will automatically be replicated to the client. Also, the scales like the recoil scale or the spread scale shouldn't be applied on the client. This should all happen on the server to be reliable and cheat safe. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave a comment or contact me via the Fab Store or my email address. And have a great day.